Ski Hotu and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the guided meditation session by Phra Goh. Today is the 18th of October, 2022. We are very grateful to have with us Bhante Adhibalo, popularly known as Phra Goh. Bhante was born on July 14, 1985, as was ordained under the Thai Dhamma sect at Santi Forest Monastery, Johor in 2008. Bhante is currently the religious advisor to Buddhist Youth Network Singapore and has been conducting MSBS weekly Tuesday guided meditation since July 2020. So this week we are continuing on the subject while we are on the Kathina period after the Vassa. So now let us compose our minds, pour our palms together, and welcome Bhante. Over to you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you, Terence, for the intro. So we are going to do the opening chanting. First, we give 3 bows to the Buddha. First bow, second bow, and the third bow. Okay, so the opening chant, homage. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. And the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamisu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musāvāda veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramiraya madhapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so good evening to everyone and those who are new as well. We just ended one topic last week, so today is a totally new topic. It's on the topic on Vassa and Kathina, suggested by, Roy is not here, suggested by someone who is not here, so every time we get suggestions and for topics and we discuss them, or I present them, and then we have this Q&A and discussion. So he suggested Kathina, because this is the month of Kathina. The monks in the Theravada tradition, most of us would have finished the Vassa, and therefore we have this opportunity to conduct this Kathina. So we don't just present Kathina alone. I also need to present what is a Vassa. It's related because we have a Vassa, that's why we have a Kathina. So just a very brief overview on what's Vassa, yeah? What's this Vassa about? Okay, so we move on quickly. So most of the presentation is mostly from the Vinaya Pitaka, yeah? The basket or the collection on the monastic rules, because this Kathina and the reigns is a monastic affair. Not so much for a layperson. The layperson is just like doing the offering, and that's like very minimal. But most of the issues pertaining to the lifestyle, the regulations, are more for the monastics. So it's from the Vinaya Pitaka. Okay, so I just quickly read through the script, and we'll see what we can discuss. At one time, the awakened one, the Lord, was staying at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove at the squirrel's feeding place. Now at that time, the use of arranged residence for monks had not come to be laid down by the Lord. So at that time, there's no arranged retreat. So these monks walked on tour during the cold weather and the hot weather and the rain. So in India, there's 3 seasons: winter, summer, and rains. So 3. So it's other places you heard of spring, summer, autumn, winter, but for India it's just 3. So for the Theravada calendar, we are using this Indian seasonal calendar. So for Theravada Buddhists, whichever part of the world we are in, we are following this 3-season calendar. So if we are from the Thai tradition, we'll collect our lunar calendar, which is prepared in the Thailand. The religious department will probably consult their astrologer or whatever and produce a universal calendar for the Thai tradition monastics. So for the Thai tradition, even there's 2 sects, 2 schools of Thai Buddhism, and they have 2 kinds of calendar. Some dates they have 1 full moon or new moon, 1 day or 1 day before or after each other. Yeah? So that's for Thailand, even though the same country, the moon looks different. And for Sri Lanka and Myanmar, also the same thing. They will consult their own countries' astrologer to produce their own lunar calendar. Yeah? So every tradition will have slight variations. Okay, so that's for the 3 calendars. So each month, because there's only 3 seasons, then we have 12 months. So each season would last around 4 months. 4 months for the winter, 4 months for summer, 4 months for the rainy season. Okay, so why 4 months? We are going to go into that. Okay, next. Okay, people looked down upon, criticized, spread about, saying, how can these recluses, sons of the Sakyans, walk on tour during the cold weather, the hot weather and the rains, trampling down on the crops and grasses, injuring life that is one faculty, and bringing many small creatures to destruction? Okay, so for rainy season, probably there might be a little flooding. So when there's water level is a bit high to your feet or to your shin or your knee, it's a bit hard to see the crops. So if you have a large group of monks walking around, they won't know that's the field for planting the crops, and they just walk across and the whole plantation is gone. So that is the issue. So last time you can read in the suttas, groups of 500 monks, a group of 1,000 monks, they walk. So imagine this number of monks walking across a paddy field, and that's it. So there goes your harvest. So that's for the rains. Not so much for cold and summer. They still travel around. In fact, in our tradition, we still can travel around in the summer season. In the winter season, we can travel around. So it's just for the rainy season where probably the water level is like covering the field, and it's a bit hard to discern which is the field for planting crops, which are normal roads. So they kind of implemented this rains season. Okay, next. Okay, so the monks heard these people who spread it about. Then these monks told this matter to the Buddha, the Lord. Then the Lord, on this occasion, in this connection, having given reasoned talk, addressed the monks, saying, I allow you, monks, to enter upon the rains. So then this is where the rains retreat started. So the monks, then it occurred to the monks, now when should the rains be entered upon? They told this matter to the Lord. Yeah, so you can enter in the rainy season. So logical, you can enter the rains retreat in the rain season. So it's a good question because sometimes some people want to find their residence early. Maybe before the rain season, you might want to find a residence first. So, but for the Buddha, he mentioned you enter the rains season, yeah, in this rains retreat during the rainy season. Okay, next. So this is a complicated affair because the monks can enter the rains season in the first month of the rainy season, rains retreat. For the rains retreat is just 3 months, but the rains season is 4 months. So we have the first month allowance. Okay, then it occurred to these monks, now how many periods are there for beginning the rains? They told this matter to the Lord. He said, monks, there are these 2 periods. For beginning the rains, the earlier and the later. So there are 2 options the monks can choose to enter. So if the monks able to choose their place of residence in time, right before the rainy season starts, then they can choose for the first option. If they are still finding a place, they are still traveling, then they might look for the second option. So it's about close to a month apart. Okay, so the first option is the earlier, may be entered upon the day after the full moon of Al-Salhi. So right after Asalha Puja, the day after would be entering of the rains. So that's the first option. So Asalha Puja is the Dhamma day, the day where the Buddha supposedly teach the Four Noble Truths. So that's the first date. The second date will be the later, may be entered upon a month after the full moon of Al-Salhi. These months are the 2 periods for beginning of the rains retreat. So that being said, it is still possible that there are monks who haven't finished the 3 months rains retreat. Yeah, so if they enter the second option, they will be still having their rains retreat, and they'll end, yeah, probably 1 month after our Pavarana, which is the 1 day after this Devo day, 1 day before the Devo day. So that is the 2 periods. Yeah? So for Kathina, for the first option, Kathina is a ceremony. Yeah? So for Kathina ceremony, if the monks enter the first option, then they have 1 month to choose which day they want to choose to have the Kathina before the rains season finish. And for the second option, they'll just conduct the Kathina immediately. After they conclude the Pavarana, then no more time. They need to do the Kathina like straight away. So that's for the 2 options. Okay, so that's for the Vassa. So I give you an idea when can the Kathina be held. Yeah, that means during the rains season, rainy season, anytime up to the monks when they want to hold it. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the interesting part, Kathina versus robe offering. So there's a difference. Now, what's the difference between Kathina and a robe offering? Okay, so like based on what we've covered earlier from the rains retreat, Kathina can be held specifically after a rains retreat and right before the rain season end. So it's a very short time frame to hold a Kathina ceremony. And the Kathina ceremony is meant for the resident monks who resided during the rains retreat. And only one monk is allowed to receive the Kathina robe. Only one monk is allowed to receive a Kathina robe. So that's for Kathina ceremony. And whereas for robe offering, you can do it any day, 365 days, any day you want, you can offer the robe. So it can be a cloth, can be a robe, can be anything. You can do any kind of offering to the monks. For Kathina, for modern day Kathina, people also offer robes, but the same thing, the official Kathina would be one set of robes will be offered to one monk. So that's for the Kathina ceremony. So in the past, people offer robe cloth. That means not the complete robe. So the picture on the right, you see like orangey colored robe. So these are like the finished product. Normally, like from the factories, they already finished. Somebody already sewn, finished, and dyed. The color is ready. So that's the finished product. In the past, in the Buddha's time, they offer white cloth. So like you see in the picture on the left is taken from this Santi monastery. So right at the front row, you see the flower, the tray, and you see like, I'm not sure whether you can zoom in enough, there's this white piece of cloth on top of the flowers. And the on the floor. So that's that white cloth is the Kathina robe. So that's how they present it in the Santi Forest Monastery in Malaysia. Okay, so either case, we'll go through in detail on what's the rationale for this Kathina. Next slide. Okay, so before I start, just a brief history of this Kathina, origins of Kathina. Right after the Buddha implemented this rains retreat, India is quite big. People walk around, they travel. So not everybody can find their ideal place to settle down before the rains retreat. So there's this group of, if I'm not wrong, 30 monks. They sort of wanted to have this rains retreat with the Buddha. So they travel to find the Buddha, but unable to settle down in time. So when the rains sort of retreat started, they need to settle down at some other places, quite a distance from the Buddha's place of residence. So they spend their Vassa. So after their rains retreat, they went to pay respects to the Buddha. So when they travel, they are wet, their robes got a bit worn out. So when the Buddha saw them like this, then the Buddha allowed them, okay, I allow you to have this Kathina so that you may have these privileges. So I'll explain it later. Okay, so for the cloth, I'll just read through. And again, this is from the MV, which is Maha from the Vinaya. I allow householder robe cloth, whoever wants to may be a rag robe man. Whoever wants to may consent to householder robe cloth. Okay, so there are two options. A rag robe man means the robe is picked up from the discarded, thrown away kind of robe. Any cloth that is unwanted on the floor, in the dustbin, in the cemetery, any kind of cloth that people do not want it anymore. So the monks can pick them up, wash it, and sew it into a robe. So that's a rag robe cloth. So that's the first option. Second option is laypersons can offer the robe cloth to the monk. So that's the second option. Okay, so the first option is for those who want to observe the Dhutanga ascetic practice. There are 13 these optional ascetic practices. Again, they're optional, so those who want to partake them, like for example, Venerable Maha, he's the monk foremost in these ascetic practices. So he picked up rope, he sold them. His ropes look like very tattered, but these are the ascetic practices. Is to promote simplicity and contentment. Okay, so I continue reading, and I commend contentment with whatever is readily available. Yeah, so this is the practice to sort of promote contentment. Okay, next. Okay, then the next few segment would be the ceremony. So I believe during this period, most people will be going to various temples or monasteries, and the monks will be doing their chanting, which nobody would understand. So this is more like a translation of the ceremony. So the initial part, again, this is optional, but most people will do it. There's this offering of the cloth by the lay devotee. Again, if people choose the second option, most people want the second option, or most temple committees want the second option. So the initial part is the chant, homage chant, right? Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the rightly self-awakened one, the Namo Tassa chant 3 times, then followed by the offering or the request. Venerable Sirs, we present this Kathina cloth together with its accessories to the community. It would be good if the community would accept this Kathina cloth together with its accessories, and having accepted it, would spread the Kathina with it for our long-term welfare and happiness. So this is the request, which of course the monk will have to accept. If not, they won't carry on the Kathina ceremony. So they'll proceed on with the ceremony. Next slide. Okay, so the ritual or the ceremony would include at least 5 monks, at least, minimum 5 monks. So in the Thai tradition, you need to have 5 monks residing in this place of residence to make the Kathina ceremony official. If there's no 5 monks, you cannot hold the Kathina ceremony. But in other traditions, I'm not sure, maybe the Burmese tradition, if you have less than 5 monks, you can still have a Kathina ceremony. Again, subjective to the interpretation of the rules. Okay, so why you need 5 monks? There's a reason. So each monk will do this particular chant. It's more like setting this consultation and moving this motion forward. Okay, so the first monk will recite this. Venerable Sirs, this Kathina cloth, together with its accessories, has arisen for the community in the season appropriate for spreading the Kathina. And in a season like this, the spreading of the Kathina with a cloth arisen in this way has been allowed by the Blessed One for bhikkhus who have completed a range residence. By this means, 5 things are proper for community that desires them. Okay, next. Okay, so these are the Kathina privileges. So earlier on, we talked about the origin story of the Kathina, the group of 30 monks. Their robes are wet and maybe tattered, and the Buddha saw them in that condition. Then the Buddha said, okay, if you completed the rains retreat, you can hold this Kathina ceremony. And once you hold this Kathina ceremony, you are allowed these 5 privileges. So what are these 5 privileges? So I'll read to them. Read out the 5 privileges. First one, going without taking leave. That means you can suka go out without asking permission. So that's the first one. But actually, most places, out of courtesy, will just inform another monk or the abbot or someone else that we are leaving for, going for maybe for a talk, for a meal invitation, whatever it is. So we'll just, out of courtesy, we'll just inform. But if you never inform and you leave, no offense. In the monastic rules, if you never ask permission and you leave, it's offense. Okay, so the second one, going without one's complete set of robes. Okay, so for those who like to go traveling, you don't need to bring all your set of robes. There's a reason. Okay. When we move on to the reason number 5, then number 2 will be very clear. Okay, so normally the monks will have 3 sets of robes. The inner robe is something like the sarong, a bit like the lower robe, or a bit like the skirt. When the monk cover the lower part of the body, so that's the one set. The second set will be the upper robe, which is this the one most of the monks are wearing in the monastery. During chanting, they wear it. And third one will be the outer robe, which is meant for winter wear, but for official ceremonies, they'll fold it up and sling it on left shoulder. So that's for the outer robe. So that's for the 3 sets. So the outer robe is actually a double layer version of the upper robe. So it's meant for winter wear. But like you can see, this is coming towards the end of the rains retreat. So after the rain season in India, then it will proceed to the winter season. So it'll be very cold. It'll be very cold. So for this Kathina privilege, it is very useful to accept more than 3 sets of robes. If they go to very cold places, then they can bring as many robes as they want. They won't feel cold. So that's the idea of the privilege. So, and if let's say the robes are torn and unusable, then they can have more than these 3 sets. Or if they abandon one set, then they accept more offering. Then it's more convenient. They want to travel here and there. They don't need to bring all the official set of robes around with them. So that makes number 2 and 5 like a pair. Okay, so number 3, a group meal. So very interesting. A group meal means a group of 4s. That means 4 monks will make a sangha. So in the Buddha's time, usually all the sangha will go for this invitation together. This is to prevent this clique mentality. So once you form cliques, then it may eventually sow discord and disharmony in the sangha. But nowadays, people do this meal invitation. If let's say they designated, my house can only afford 4 monks. There's not enough space, so that's no issue. Or if they go through the monastery, the abbot appoint 4 monks to go, then that's also fine. So that's official route. So these are the group meals. So group meals are allowed. So when a person has these Kathina privileges, then if there's a lot of traveling again, then it's easier to have a group meal without going through so much of these protocols. So that's for number 3. Number 4, keeping robe cloth as long as is wanted. So if let's say a person has more than these 3 sets of robes, then they can keep the additional robes, 4 or 5 robes, 6 robes, as long as they want. Normally, the monk will have to relinquish, if they have more than 3 sets of robes. But if they have these Kathina privileges, then they can keep as long as they want. But there's a limit also, there's a duration. So I'll read it out later. And number 5, any robe, cloth, or reason here in the residence where they spend will be theirs. So in this Kathina ceremony, or during the during Kathina ceremony, as long as they attend the ceremony, as long as they attend the rains retreat, whatever robes they receive in that Kathina ceremony will be theirs. So people can offer as many set of robes as they want. They can they can accept them. So this is the fifth privilege. Okay, then how long is the duration? Earlier on, we read number 4, right? Keeping rope cloth as long as is wanted. So there's a duration. Also, the rope season will be extended throughout the 4 months of the cold season. Yeah, so that's the Kathina privilege to the 4 months of the cold season. So the reason for accepting many ropes is for the cold season. So once the cold season is over, the winter season is over, then it's time to relinquish the ropes. So normally in most monasteries they have like a storehouse or something. So extra ropes will be returned to the store. Okay, now does the community want the spreading of the Kathina or not? Then the monks who responded will respond they want it. Okay, next slide. Okay, so as you can see from the second slide, Venerable Sirs, the Blessed One has allowed the spreading of the Kathina only by an individual. Yeah, so that means only one monk can receive the official Kathina robe. So the rest of the robe cloth, the rest of the resident monks can receive, but for the Kathina cloth, the official Kathina cloth can be only received by one individual. That means if let's say there's 100 monks in that monastery, only one monk can receive this Kathina cloth, or the Kathina robe. Okay, not otherwise than through the spreading by an individual is the Kathina spread. Right? Neither a community nor a group spreads the Kathina. Through the concord of the community and the group, and through the spreading by the individual is the Kathina of the community, the group, and the individual spread. Okay, so this individual has to be appointed and approved by the community of Sangha. So that's where all the Sangha will carry out this motion, chant all these agreements and stuff like that. Okay, so now to whom do we give the Kathina cloth to spread the Kathina? To whoever has an old rope or a threadbare rope, or to whoever will strive and finishing the making of the rope today without omitting any of the procedure is capable of spreading the Kathina. Okay, so this is for the second monk. So I think I shall end here due to time constraints. We normally do half an hour sharing, and we open the floor to Q&A. Okay, any questions so far? So now you all have an idea, Kathina robe versus normal robe offering. Anyone wants to ask any questions? So there's still we are still halfway through the ritual. So there's 2 more monks need to chant 2 more things, and then another 2 monks chant another thing, and that's it. That's for the Kathina ceremony.
Hi Bante.
Yes, Roy. Yes, finally you're here.
I listening. I just first came back from work, so yeah.
Okay.
But Bante, may I ask why just one Kathina robe only? And yeah, that's a question that I have in mind.
Yeah. Okay. So for Kathina, because when originally when the monks at that time want to present this cloth or receive this Kathina cloth, they need to sew it to make it complete. So it's not easy to sew, let's say 100 set of cloth, 100 set of ropes. So they only present to one monk only. So they choose one. So in the Thai tradition, normally they choose the most senior monk. So again, it's up to individual community. Maybe they want to choose someone else or whatever criteria they want to choose. So that's up to them. But in the most of the forest tradition, they'll choose the most senior monk to receive the Kathina cloth.
Okay, thank you, Bante.
Okay, no problem. Okay, anyone else?
Bante, just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, I want to ask you, what will you all do with that yarn of white cloth that is being offered on the altar now in the main hall?
Yarn of white cloth offered now. I didn't see it.
There is a yarn of white cloth offered at the main shrine.
Okay, if that is the Kathina cloth, then we'll probably use it for the ceremony.
Oh, you mean you all will make ropes out of it?
That will depend on which monk arrive. Currently, our resident monks don't really have an expert tailor or sewing expert or no those cloth rope making expert. If there are guest monks who come and they are specialists, specialized in that, and probably, who knows, maybe they might make one.
Oh, you mean the monks can sew the ropes from the white ropes? There are
Yeah.
still monks who can do
Initially,
that.
that's what was supposed to be done. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but actually, these days all the ropes are sold by those professionals, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, during Kathina Day, like if ordinary days we make the offering to you, the ropes, are you allowed to keep?
Yeah, 365 days you offer the rope, we can keep it. If it's out of the Kathina privilege, we'll just keep in our store.
Oh, not you won't keep it yourself.
Yeah, individually we can't. Yeah, if you have excessive ropes. Yeah.
Oh, so you mean that I should offer on Kathina Day? Then you can keep.
It's up to an individual. We won't impose, but then again, it's good to know what is needed for each monastery or each community, what is lacking, what is excessive, and you can offer the appropriate items.
I see. So unless it's offered on Kathina Day, then you can have it, is it? So
It depends on the monastics also. No, if they find it, if let's say they are not really traveling to cold places, then they may not need too many of these excessive ropes also.
let's see. Thank you, Bante.
Okay, all right. Anyone else?
Sorry, Bante, I got one more
Yeah.
question. It's me again,
Okay.
Roy. Bante, I want to ask that just now you say that a Kathina ceremony can only have 5 monks to conduct. Am I right? So that
Yeah, minimum 5 monks need to at least stay in that particular monastery for the rains retreat. Then they can conduct this Kathina ceremony.
or must be a monastery area with at least 5 monks.
Yeah, any place of residence that has 5 monks. So it doesn't have to be a monastery. It can be in a cave also. So the rains retreat, the requirement is as long as you have a shelter.
So can I
So
safely say,
open area cannot. So you want to have a rains retreat, you need to have a shelter. So even in a house, in a bungalow, you have 5 monks staying in a bungalow. So that place can hold a Kathina also.
so can I safely say, Bante, that at all times, these 5 during the rain retreat, there must be at least 5 monks traveling together. They cannot be lesser than 5 monks as such, because during the Kathina ceremony, you need to have 5. Am I right, sir?
They need to stay put for the rains retreat together.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, no problem. Anyone else?
Bante, Terence here.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you explain more on this group meal thing? What do you mean?
Okay, so group meal thing is if let's say there's an open invitation, if let's say the invitation is open to the lay person, open the invitation to as many sangha as possible, but then out of selfishness, this monk only just choose his clique of monks only. So that is group meal invitation, that is considered an offense. But if the group meal invitation is already limited by the person inviting, let's say they will tell you, oh, my house only can feed 4 people, so they invite only 4 monks, so that's okay. So that's a group invitation. Okay, so hopefully that clears the issue.
Is there a limitation on colors? I mean, for dyeing of white robes?
Yeah, we'll go through that in the next or upcoming sessions. So it's mentioned, yeah. Basically, any color, most of the colors that you can find in the forest, so that are the colors that can be used as dyes. Yeah, so that's in short. Okay, anyone else? So the forest is very colorful, so now you know why so many colored robes. Okay, no further questions, all okay? Okay, if not, then we can have a short break, 5-minute break. You can do stretching, go to the washroom, then we'll come back for the guided meditation session. Okay, see you all back later. Okay, if not, we're going to start. Make sure you all find a comfortable sitting position. Make sure your back is upright. And the rest of the body relaxed. Yeah, so for the first phase of the meditation, we're going to feel the sensations of the body. Mindful of the 4 elements, earth, fire, wind, water elements. So earlier on we talked about season, this rainy season, hot, cold season. So the body also has many of these seasons, many of these elements. So the earth element represents any hard and soft sensations. Fire is hot and cold. Wind is fast and slow movements, any kind of movements at all. And water, moist or dry. So we are just being aware how these sensations arise by itself. You no need to deliberately create those sensations. And when it appears, we apply right thought. That means when it appears, we wish them well and happy. So it doesn't matter which part of the body, as long as any obvious sensation appear, we wish it well and happy. New sensation appear again, wish it well and happy. So you make friends with anything that's being thrown at you. So the more we repeat, that is right thought and right effort. And notice once we start to idle and do nothing, then the mind will naturally cling to the next obvious sensation. So currently we're just tackling the elements. We are not tackling with emotions yet, like sloth and torpor, anger, greed. So that one need more skill. So start off with any sensation change. We keep repeating well and happy. So this will be like a warm-up. And once your mind is relatively calm, then we can take note of this state of mind, basically this emotion, and the mind is calm and settled. Call this the baseline emotion. So no concentrative states yet, no insight. So this is the baseline. Okay, so now we are going to proceed and wish all beings in all directions well and happy. No need to push your mind, let it expand by itself, and no need to visualize how all sentient beings look like. There's no way to visualize or know all the species or insects or all the unseen beings. So when the mind extends, it will naturally encompass all the sentient beings along the way. And we perceive all beings, and they are made of these aggregates and these elements. So whatever sensation that we feel near or far, we wish all beings well and happy. So it's not just only yourself, but we wish all beings. So the emphasis is the two words in front. We wish all beings well and happy. So when a new sensation arises, we wish all beings well and happy. New sensation arises, all beings well and happy. Okay, so the repetition of wishing all beings well and happy, continuously doing it may lead to the mind settling into the first level of concentration. So there will should be a difference from the baseline emotion, more joy, happiness, or more peaceful. So that's the indicator for the first level. And regardless of what you experience, continue to wish all beings well and happy. Regardless of what you experience, continue to be mindful of impermanence. Okay, so the combination of this loving kindness and insight may lead to this fourth level of concentration. You are mindful of impermanence. So if, let's say, the joy or happiness disappear and you have this neutral and uplifting kind of emotion, that would indicate equanimity. And regardless of what you experience, continue to be mindful of impermanence. So now we switch to the second sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we are going to wish all beings, may they be free from suffering. So there's no need to over-imagine any story or drama. Same thing, we're going to use the common denominator. All beings will experience this 5 clinging aggregates, all these elements, all the sensations which are subject to clinging and suffering. So whenever we detect any new sensation, we wish all beings free from suffering. So this way we won't create this differentiation. We think, oh, only poor people or people who are hungry then deserve compassion, and those who are full, those who are rich, don't need compassion. So we come down to the source, common denominator. At least emotionally, all beings experience distress, clinging, and suffering. So anytime new sensation appear, we keep repeating, we wish all beings free from suffering. The more we generate compassion every moment instead of personalizing and going to dramas and stories, the mind should settle down. And if you do it correctly, there should be some kind of joy and happiness in that compassion. So that's the concentrative kind of compassion, unlike conventional compassion, which is just sadness or sorrow, which is the definition of suffering. And regardless of what you experience, continue to wish all beings free from suffering. So next we add some insight. We're going to reflect how to transcend this suffering. We need to practice some detachment. So we're going to observe impermanence. So every sensation, we observe how they arise and pass away. And regardless of what you experience, continue to be mindful of impermanence. Okay, and the repetition of this compassion and combination of insight may lead to this perception of space. So you kind of feel some kind of blankness or spaciousness, then that's some of the symptoms, but regardless of what you experience, continue to be mindful of impermanence. Do not get lost in space. Every time we generate a right thought, or this impermanence is like rowing a boat. Every time we stop rowing, then all the currents of the ocean will drag the mind all around. And now we're going to switch to the third sublime state, which is appreciative joy. So it's more like appreciation of whatever we have. So all beings will experience these aggregates and sensations. So we have appreciation every moment. We are able to detect something. So every time we experience something new, we can rejoice with all sentient beings. Okay, so the more we rejoice every moment, then the mind should settle down, and it may lead to the third level of concentration, denoted by the emotion of happiness. And regardless of what you experience, continue to rejoice with all sentient beings. Okay, now we're going to add some insight, and we're going to reflect on all beings will eventually be separated from what they have achieved. So all experiences are impermanent, all memories are impermanent. So we keep observing the arising and passing of all sensations. regardless of whatever happened, continue to be mindful of impermanence. Okay, so the combination of this appreciative joy and insight may lead to this state of mind called the perception of infinite consciousness. So you start to feel like become more whole or getting larger, sense of self getting larger, covering the space from earlier is not spaciousness, but it's more like your being has enlarged, and that would indicate the state of mind. And regardless of what you experience, continue to observe impermanence. Then we're going to move on to the fourth sublime state, which is equanimity. And usually we use the reflection of karma to achieve some equanimity. So no need to speculate on what you've done in the past. We just observe every moment here and now. Every time this pleasant feeling arises, then it's due to good karmas ripening. And if it's unpleasant feeling arises, that's due to bad karmas ripening. And if a neutral feeling arises, that is due to neutral karmas ripening. So every moment, every experience is conditioned by karma, and we reflect on these karmas moment to moment. Okay, due to time constraint, going to have this gentle reminder before we conclude that we can maintain these 4 immeasurables, be it standing, sitting, walking, or lying down, or also maintain mindful of impermanence in all activities. And with that, we can gently open our eyes. Formally end the session, but informally still can generate right thought. Okay, any problems or questions from anyone?
Bhante, can I ask, if you, when you say that karma ripening, is this a bad thing or a good thing?
Whatever happened, we just do not add this oil to the fire. So all these good and bad karmas ripening, these are old karmas ripening. So if we react badly or unskillfully, we are adding this fuel to the fire.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, all right. Okay, anyone else? Okay, no issues, then we are going to conclude. Okay, so the closing chant, Anumodana. Akasata ca Bhumata Devanaga Mahitika Punyang Tang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Loka Sasanang Etavata ca Amhehi Sapadang Punya Sapadang Sabe Deva Sabe Bhuta Sabe Sata Anumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya. Dedication of merits to departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu sugita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sugita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sugita hontu nyatayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so that's the end of the session. So next week we are continuing the second part of the Kathina ceremony. Okay, any announcements from Terence? Okay, if not, then good night.
Bye, Bhante.
Thank you.
Bye, Bhante. Good night.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Bhante.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Sadhu,